What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, man, I wanted to talk about this injury, right? That how do I say Brianna? That Sophie Cunningham just recently she just recently received in the game against the what was it Connecticut against Connecticut. Young lady, Brianna Hartley ran into Sophie Cunningham's knee and hurt her. Right, I'm not sure right now how serious this injury is, but even before this injury happened, before this injury happened, I just thought that the the fever, Indiana fever, they kind of looked like they were out of sync. It's just they just have too many things just working against them. In my opinion, they look like they just couldn't get into a rhythm early in that game. Now they did wind up coming back and winning that game, but this injury right here to Sophie Cunningham, in my opinion, just really to me put it just put a damper on their playoff hopes. And basically that's how I feel about that. But now some people are saying that this injury to Sophie Cunningham was almost like it was intentional. Now, when I look at the replay and stuff like that, I don't really feel like it was intentional. You had the young lady driving to the board. Sophie Cunningham was coming from the weak side to help out. You know, so I don't see, in my opinion, I don't see how it could be intentional. I know that the women's game is very physical, but with that being said, to me, it just didn't look like it was intentional. Also, some people saying that after they fouled, like Brianna Hartley was seen smiling. Now, that don't mean that it was intentional. Just that it just means, in my opinion, that she is probably if she was smiling, it just basically poor sportsmanship is what that boils down to. But what I want to do is I want to read some of the responses from the fans that actually, and what they think about the game. And let me see. I'm gonna read some of the comments, right? So earlier, let me see. Let me see. This is ridiculous. Is everyone else tired of prison ball? And like I said earlier, the WNBA game is very physical. People have been complaining about it. Also, last season with some of the fouls that Caitlin Clark took, they were complaining about it. And now you have this injury to Sophie Cunningham, and it just brings to the forefront again how physical this league is. But again, I'm not going to commit to the thought that it was intentional from Brianna Hartley. But I do acknowledge that this game, as far as the WNBA game, is very physical. So one commenter, like I said, one person in the chat did say that this is prison ball. All right. Someone else says this was 100% intentional. Now that I have finally seen the replay, uh they targeted Sophie Cunningham last time they played and already took some shots at her early in the game. With Sophie Cunningham being called for bogus fouls, Sophie has Sophie has spoken out about the refs and have allowed the refs have allowed the teams to be very physical with Sophie. And that's a good point, right? All right, do you think, in your opinion, do you think because Sophie has been outspoken against the cause, I did a video last week when Sophie Cunningham spoke about what was the young lady name? It's the young lady from Dallas, Paige Beckers. And she basically said on her podcast that it was frustrating to her that you couldn't even touch Paige Beckers because Paige Beckers was the refs will call everything Paige Becker's way. So it's clear to me that some people in the WNBA feel that there are certain people in the league that are getting calls, and they're allowing other players in the league to foul these players, like go overboard when it comes to fouling. Who's known as being the Dejanay Carrington. She's one who's known to be somebody who's very physical. Alyssa Thomas, she's one who's known to be very physical, and will give out hard fouls. There's a few young ladies in the league who are known for hard fouls, right? And I think that in order for them to, I like the physical play. Physical play is good because you don't want people to give up baskets, and you don't want to see just an up and down. But there has to be like a middle ground. You don't, like I said, you don't want to see people just giving up layups and both teams just running up and down the court. But you do want to see some resistance. So there has to be a middle ground when it comes to this, because at a certain point, it just becomes unwatchable for fans. When you see, like one fan just described it, you see prison ball, right? Let me see. CC's decline in performance started with Connecticut Sun's dirty play. I just hate this team. They play so dirty always. So even last year, Connecticut was known to be a very physical team, and some people do characterize it as dirty play. So, and let me see. The WNBA falls back into obscurity. Good riddance. So some people think that the WNBA this will fall back into obscurity, and I don't know. It's sometimes it's hard to watch, because you have people missing layups, then you have then you have the hard fouls. It is. I have to agree with this person in the chat that the WNBA is, it might fall back. It might take a step back. Then you have, on the other hand, you have the WNBA as far as the what they're going into with the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, and that if there's a possibility of a strike or a lockout, depending on if they can reach an agreement with that. So fans are not really getting to enjoy the game. There's so much drama around the game. You have the drama with hard fouls, then you have the collective bargaining agreement. It's just a lot going on with the WNBA. And if they don't, if I'm thinking that if the commissioner of the league really don't take charge, I think that they're going to miss out on an opportunity that they have to grow the league and expand the league. I like the fact that the Valkyries have come in and they're having some success. They're about 500, but the Valkyries, in my opinion, are a exciting team to watch. And so I think they've been a really good addition to the league. Let me see. This one person in the chat said, "I have had enough. Can't watch these refs let this targeting of the fever players go on any longer." Sophie Cunningham, let me see, needs to go play in Europe. She needs to go play in Europe. The WNBA is a joke. So that was one person. This was not an accident. She knew what she was doing. She rolled into her. How many times are we supposed to tell you guys that this Brianna is a dirty player? Every day is her on the crime scene. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, she does get called out a lot for her dirty play. And so I don't know. I mean, if she is a person who is constantly, in around the scene of the crime, then you have to really, and she's not the only one, in my opinion, right? Brianna Hartley. She's not the only one who's a physical player. Like I said, Alyssa Thomas is very physical. Who's the other young lady? Dejanay Carrington is very physical, but that particular play right there, I don't know if if you watch it, it just because of where Sophie Cunningham came from, like on the opposite side of the court, she came to help out on Breonna Hartley, who was driving to the basket. I don't know. I don't know. It's I don't think it was, but it could have been. I just think that either way, I think the refs need to get control of the game because you don't want stuff like this to go on. You don't want to see these young ladies hurt, and especially when you have fans who pay to see these young ladies. It's just not. It's not good for the game, basically. So they need some. Like I said, you need some resistance on defense. But plays like this, where if somebody is going directly for somebody needs, you really don't need that. And so that's my thoughts on it. With that being said, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I will check you all out in the next video. Peace.